Right, for another video on tort and negligence. I was moving towards Donoghue and Stevenson, a very well-known case whereby the contractual liabilities couldn't be explored because the actual product, which was a bottle of ginger beer, was a gift to the recipient, who subsequently suffered harm. Donoghue and Stevenson proved fairly clear in issues where a physical injury had been caused due to positive conduct. However, the difficulty arose, and it's never really been fully clarified, to do with psychiatric harm and so-called pure economic loss. So these are cases in which there is no physical harm, but there is harm of another kind. And really, the judgments haven't been totally consistent, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Annes versus Merton London Borough Council greatly expanded this area of law, but this was subsequently seen as moving too quickly. And in the famous case of Caparo Industries versus Dickman, which was to do with an accountant's reference, the so-called Caparo test was finally derived. And this really concerns the foreseeability of damage. So really, what we have, the Caparo test, we have foreseeability of damage, which is the first condition. Proximity, something that's become very important in the Henley Byrne case. And then finally, fair, just and reasonable, which fair, just and reasonable is really a way of saying that public policy will finally determine what is considered as actionable, because the courts don't want a floodgate argument to be approved, and hence a large number of cases to be brought into the courts. A couple of definitions. A positive act is a liability which relates to an act of the defendant for which he's responsible, and an act, an omission of an act is something which he hasn't done but should have done. That's all I'm going to say at the moment on those general points. So Caparo, which was a much later case, defined the tests for novel duty of care, and we have foreseeability, which imposes an obligation on the defendant to avoid conduct that exposes persons to unreasonable risks of harm, and it's a necessary but not sufficient condition. And we have another case reference, which is McLaughlin versus O'Brien. And foreseeability is determined on an objective basis.